Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who. Last time around was The Vampires of Venice. What was that one about?
Well, the Doctor decided to take Amy and Rory somewhere romantic, so he's going to take them to Venice during the Renaissance. But there's this weird school that's kind of kidnapping young women. Now, I can't remember. It turns out that the people who ran the school were aliens of some kind. And they thought they were vampires because they didn't like to go out in the sun. But there was something else about them. I can't remember exactly what it was. I know that the females were going to be bred to the males who basically seemed to be like piranhas living in the canals of Venice. And, anyway, there was the normal chaos and something about the bell tower. I've hardly slept since then, so...
Yeah, so
that's pretty much what I remember.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was a way of rekindling the romance between Amy and Rory, and which did work after he fought the fish man with a broom, and it's not that he was successful with that, but
yeah.
But yeah, they managed to defeat the vampire fish and. Unfortunately, it was the end of that species, and they went on their way, pretty much, so...
Now, there is an interesting idea for a movie or a fantasy novel. Vampire fish. Not piranhas that would eat you, but simply fish that would take your blood.
Yeah, so... well, hey, that sounds just stupid enough to work in a comic book, so... it's actually something I've been thinking of. It's slightly off topic, but I've come to realize that a lot of story ideas that I've had over the years that are stupid beyond belief would fit really well into comic books. So, like, the amount of nonsense that appears in Marvel and DC comics is ridiculous. Now, I'm mostly saying this just because I'm watching through a show called Young Justice. It's a DC superhero show about the younger people in the Justice League, and they're going through an arc right now where they go to Mars, where the Martian Manhunter is from. The Martian Manhunter, whose name is Jones with the apostrophes. Yeah. Apparently, everything on Mars has that apostrophe, including the planet itself called Mars. And I just think this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And they keep going with it with such seriousness that I'm just like, man, I'm in the wrong business. I could be making comic books. You could just make up anything and it's fine. You just have to stick to, the core principles of that character that you're working on, but it's just, I don't know. I'm just remembering back to, like, movies I came up with in high school, like The Cosmic Potato, and it's just like, oh, that would fit in so perfectly. And if it doesn't fit in perfectly to DC, it fits in perfectly to Doctor Who. This is my way of tying it all back around. Could you imagine an episode of, like, with this Doctor where they find a sort of cosmic potato? I think that would exist. Honestly, I could see a Torchwood episode like that too. So it'd be a goofier Torchwood episode, but still. Speaking of, very soon, we will have the discussion. We're going to do a discussion video for Season 2 of Torchwood, and then we will get started on Season 3. There's also a part of me that kind of thinks, because I don't know, it's going to be, like, difficult with, like, the two-parters that we have in Doctor Who and stuff. Something I thought about doing for Torchwood Season 3 is, what if, we just sort of record it at our own pace when we get the chance, we record an episode. I mean, there's only 5 episodes, so we get through that. And then, what would you guys think about if I just spliced all of those into one video? Like a nice, 3-hour video that just covers all of Torchwood Season 3. Nothing would be lost. Like, it wouldn't be like there would be less of a reaction there, but I might just do that instead of, like, releasing it 1 week at a time. So, I don't know. Not that we would watch all 5 episodes in a row, but I might just splice them all together in one video. That way, it's not, like, too pressing of a matter, because trying to fit it in with this, and of course, obviously I have other shows on the channel that nobody watches, fitting in Torchwood Season 3 might be a bit difficult, so that would
Torchathon.
Yeah, so that might be something I consider, is just going through, like, we'll just record the episodes when we can, and then when we're done, I'll edit them all together into one giant Torchwood Season 3 video, but either way, we're getting pretty close, because today, after this episode, we're going to watch the last episode of Torchwood Season 2, and then we'll do a discussion video at some point, so that's the current plan now, and then when we're done with that, we're done with that. Although, if that sort of format works, of just like putting that entire season into one video, that may honestly be how we might do the Sarah Jane Adventures. So, but we'll see. Anyhow,
one last little kind of tangent. Imagine that.
Yeah.
On your comic book thing. I think I've told you this before. I really got into comics in the early 60s, especially when we moved to England, because, they literally, the TV didn't come on until late afternoon, so it was nothing to do in the daytime when we had summers. So I read a lot of comic books, very much into the early Marvel, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, X-Men especially. And then in the very late 60s, early 70s, the comic book thing kind of went out for a while. But I had kept all of my X-Men from X-Men number 1 up to X-Men number 50. And a lot of my British comics, too, like Wham, and I can't remember the names of the rest of them. But I kept all of those thinking, one day these will be worth something. And I guess in the early 80s, I was desperate for money, so I literally sold my entire collection of X-Men and probably didn't get, $25 for it. And then, of course, very shortly after that, mid-90s, late 90s, when the movies started taking off, I literally could have sold each one of those comics for $50 a piece.
Yeah.
So, who knew back then?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. It's the funny thing every time, like, we watch a new superhero movie, and sometimes you'll say, well, I don't remember that from the comics. There is a part of me, the sassier part of me, that's like, well, yes, maybe something different has happened in the 50 years since you read comic books. Maybe they came up with a new storyline or something, but I don't know, but it's fine. But anyway. Do we have anything else before going into this one?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm reiterating again that this is the last weekend of our current show at the theater. Our next show doesn't go up for 3 weekends, and then after November, depending on, I'm going to an audition later on today for a show. So if I get cast, it won't affect any of our Doctor Who stuff, but it will take up some evening time. So we'll do this whenever we can.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, honestly, like, the recordings might be a little bit affected, but actually you guys watching this on, Monday at noon is probably not going to be affected at all. So yeah, it just means that I'll have to adjust my filming schedule and lose the rest of my hair. So my hair that's so nice and long and luxurious now. So,
and speaking of which, you might have noticed my beard getting longer and longer. That's for this audition that I'm going to. If I don't get cast, I'll get back to trimming it to a more normal length.
I do generally like to keep my beard nice and trimmed, despite the fact that I've let my hair grow. Like, so when we got a haircut, before vacation, was that in June or was that in May?
That was in June.
That was in June. Okay, and that would have been like the beginning of June.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a haircut since the beginning of June, because I just frankly don't feel like it anymore, and so I've just kind of let my hair grow. It's getting to the point where I could tie this back into a, the world's shortest ponytail. So
as long as you don't do a man bun.
Yeah. So, but I know it's because for some reason everyone wants to comment on my hair on Doctor Who, and only Doctor Who. Nobody else that watches my videos comments on my hair. I don't know what that's about.
Well, maybe it's because the Doctor Who people have seen you go from rather short hair to now shoulder length hair.
Maybe. Well, probably because if they've been here from the beginning, they remember when there was hair out front. So, but that's the thing. It's like I know some people have described it as Klingon hair. It's not intentional, but at this point, the not getting a haircut is kind of intentional. The only thing is I just have to keep brushing it out of my face. That's like the one thing. I'm literally getting the cartoon thing where like some of my hair will hit my nose and then it itches like a cartoon, and I'm just like, oh, geez. My hair really is that long, so... But I just enjoy it.
Anywho.
Um,
Amy's choice.
Yeah, let's get to that. So... You didn't see that.
I didn't see that, and I don't know who they are anyway.
Oh, good.
Amy is pregnant?
You know, you leave for a weekend. It happens. Look at this lovely little
Cottage.
Yeah, I was gonna say village. It's just one house right now.
Oh, hey! You've swallowed a planet!
I'm pregnant!
You're huge!
Yeah, I'm pregnant.
Look at you when worlds collide!
Doctor, I'm pregnant.
Oh, look. Are you pregnant?
Talk about hair.
Oh yeah. I don't think I can let my hair get that long.
Vibrant as ever.
It's up at Leadworth, actually. We've gone slightly upmarket.
Where is everyone?
This is busy.
That sounds lovely.
It's quiet.
What do you do around here to stave off the, self-harm? Don't ask. You don't want to know. I'm safe now.
Nope. Oh, okay.
That's what counts. Blimey. Never dropped off like that before. Well, never, really. I'm getting on a bit, you see. Look, it doesn't matter. We all had some kind of psychic episode. We probably just jumped a time track or something. Forget it. We're back to reality now.
I know the birds.
If we're back to reality, how come I can still hear birds?
Yeah, the same birds, the same ones we heard in the dream. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, nodded off. Stupid.
Hold on tight. This is going to be a tricky one.
The birds are evil.
Now, the first place we lived in England, tiny little town called Herringswell, wasn't even that large. Rory still doesn't get billing.
No.
Does he ever?
Yeah. Next season.
Okay, no, this is real. I'm definitely awake.
Yeah, and you thought you were definitely awake when you were all elephanty.
Hey,
Pregnant.
Okay, well, we're in a spaceship that's bigger on the inside than the outside.
with a bow tie wearing alien.
So maybe what rings true isn't so simple.
Good point.
Yeah. That could be bad.
It's dead. We're in a dead time machine.
Yeah. Well, something's alive.
It's Amy's dream too, isn't it, Amy?
Yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
What's that?
Old people's home.
You said everyone here lives to their 90s. There's something that doesn't make sense. Let's go and poke it with a stick.
I think that's just what old people are like. That's what you're going to be in 20 years. Just staring out your window at weird young people.
The scanner's down, so we can't even see out. We could be anywhere. Something is overriding my controls.
Well,
Yep.
that took a while. Honestly, I'd heard such good things. Last of the Time Lords, the oncoming storm, him in the bow tie.
Toby
How did you get
Jones?
into my TARDIS?
Yep.
What are you?
Oh, Amy, have to sort your men out. Choose even.
I have chosen. Of course. I've chosen. It's you, stupid.
Oh, good, thanks.
You can't fool me. I've seen your dreams. Some of them twice, Amy. Blimey, I'd blush if I had a blood supply. Or a real face.
Where did you pick up this cheap cabaret act?
Me? Oh, you're on shaky ground.
Am I?
If you had any more tawdry quirks, you could open up a tawdry quirk shop.
There's a dream giveaway at Tell, but my mind isn't working because this village is so dull! I'm slowing down like you do.
Ow. Really?
Okay, you're a doctor, help her. You're a doctor. It's okay, we're doctors. What do we do?
Oh, okay, it's not coming.
What?
This is my life now, and it just turned you white as a sheet, so don't you call it ill again. Ever. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
God, he had both of his hearts racing.
Is nobody going to mention Roy's ponytail? You hold him down, I'll cut it off.
This from the man in the bow tie.
Bow ties are cool.
Bananas are good.
Don't know about you, but I wouldn't hire Mrs. Poggett as a babysitter.
I hope that it's just constantly raining. You almost forget about it.
Yeah.
I thought you'd chosen me, not him.
You are always so insecure.
You ran off with another man?
Not in that way.
It was the night before our wedding.
We're in a time machine. It can be the night before our wedding for as long as we want.
You know, I'm sure Space Vegas
You
exists.
have to grow up eventually.
It's a generator, get winding.
Egg beater.
Not enough!
Rory, wind!
Why is the Dream Lord picking on you? Why us?
Okay, we are in space.
That's why we're freezing. It's not a heating malfunction. We're drifting toward a cold sun. There's no deadly danger for this version of reality.
So this must be the dream. There is no such thing as a cold star. Stars burn.
So this one is just burning cold.
Is that possible?
I can't know everything. Why does everybody expect me to? Always.
Okay, this is something you haven't.
Because you
seen
say
before,
you know
so
everything.
Does that mean it's just so tranquil and relaxed?
Nothing bad could ever happen here.
I mean,
Really me though, is it? I mean,
aliens have come to Leadworth before.
Two shops in a really bad amateur dramatic society.
Oh.
That's why I got pregnant, so I don't have to see them doing Oklahoma. What are you doing and what?
Playtime's definitely over.
Oh my god.
What happened to them?
Old people.
Loves a redhead, our naughty doctor. Has he told you about Elizabeth I? Well, she thought she was the first.
Drop it. Drop all of it. I know who you are.
Of course you don't.
Of course I do. No idea how you can be here, but there's only one person in the universe who hates me as much as you do.
Never mind me. Maybe you should worry about them.
Ah, they mobilized. They'll be here in 4 hours.
Imagine that casting call.
Hello! We were wondering if maybe around the sweet shop. He used to slip me the odd free toffee. Did I not say thank you?
Oh,
How did he do that?
I suspect he's not himself. Don't get comfortable here. You may have to run. Fast.
Can't we just talk to them?
Morning.
no, Jim.
I'll deal with this one, Chubbs.
Chubbs.
Do it.
I can't hit her.
Whack her!
Oh, good job.
We don't see him for years, and somehow we don't really connect anymore. And then he takes the bullet for us.
Hey, he'll be fine. You know the doctor. He's Mr. Cool.
Yeah, see? See how cool he is?
Oh, can't watch.
In the freezer.
Lock it. Great, now he's cold in 2 places.
It's colder.
The three of us have to agree now which is the dream.
It's this. Here.
You could be right. The science is all wrong here. Burning ice.
No. Eyes can burn, sofas can read. It's a big universe. We have to agree which.
Oh, a poncho. The biggest crime against fashion since lederhosen.
Here we go. Oh, my boys. My poncho boys. If we're gonna die, let's die looking like a Peruvian folk band.
They're so strong.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Like Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Old People. They got a battering ram. They're trying to take the TARDIS.
Oh, you couldn't live near the shops, could you?
Drop kick him.
Okay, it's only me. Here we are.
Ah, the old VW minibus. Mow him down.
Quickly! Come on, jump in, quick! Get in now, quickly, hurry up!
Man, it's amazing there are other young people in Leadworth.
Oh, yeah?
And now he's left you with me. Spooky old, not to be trusted me. Anything could happen.
Ew.
Oh. So brave.
I was starting to like.
Oh. Ooh, oh. Good job.
Look after our baby.
It's the blip.
Oh no. No, Rory died.
This is a dream.
How do you know?
Because if this is real life, I don't want it. I don't want it.
What happened to me?
Oh, right. This is good.
I am liking this. Could you tell me what it was so I can use it in emergencies and maybe birthdays?
No, that's it. The end of Doctor Who. Nah, all good.
So that was the Dream Lord then? Those little specks?
No. Sorry, wasn't it obvious? The Dream Lord was me. Psychic pollen, it's a mind parasite. Feeds on everything dark in you. Gives it a voice, turns it against you. 907. How long to go on?
But why didn't it feed on us too?
The darkness in you, Pet, would have starved to death in an instant. I choose my friends with great care.
Because what I don't get is, you blew up the TARDIS, that stopped that dream, but what stopped the Leadworth dream?
We crashed the camper van.
Oh, right. I don't remember that bit.
No, you weren't there. You were already
What do you want?
Does he look a little bit like a
dead.
very young version of
Died
Peter
in that dream.
Capaldi
Mrs. Pocket got you.
at that angle?
Okay. But how do you know it was a dream? Before you crashed the van? How do you know you wouldn't just die?
50-50 chance. Eh. Don't think about it. Yeah, the interesting thing, that's the only episode so far that doesn't involve the crack in space and time. Well, did it last episode? No, yeah, last episode it was kind of a major point.
Yeah.
So, and there's a bug on my tablecloth. That's weird. Anyway.
Okay, now, when he said there's only one person who hates me that way, the implication was the Master. Because that is the only person
Oh, yeah.
out of, 30 seasons now, 29 seasons, who has been his complete and polar nemesis.
Well, that's the thing. Even the Master pales in comparison to the Doctor's hatred towards himself.
But that's only manifested itself since the Time War.
For the most part, yeah.
Because I don't think any of the classic Who Doctors ever really had that. It never manifested itself on screen.
It's much more subtle
Yeah.
with the classic Doctors. Although, the probably biggest connection that you can make with the Dream Lord is that a lot of fans have sort of speculated on, how the Dream Lord works and everything. And the biggest connection would be a connection back to the Valeyard, who is an amalgamation of the darkest parts of the Doctor between what is said to be his 12th and final regeneration, which is right here. So, now technically we don't know that as per se with, the numbering and everything, because that gets a little screwy later on, but in a sense, that is pretty much where we're at, is all that darkness that is amalgamated over the course of his lifetime, and then everything up to his final inevitable death somewhere. I mean, we don't know where, but somewhere from all of that is where the Valeyard is born, and thus the Dream Lord does sort of work within that same sphere, basically. So, and I will say it's interesting watching it now, because now I'm like, because now I know about the Valeyard. We watched that season, so I'm like, yeah, I could see it. Now, unfortunately, the Dream Lord does not come back, so this is not really followed up on at any point. But they could someday. They could bring back the Valeyard at some point. So
now, I wonder if they considered, instead of having a complete physical opposite. I mean, let's face it, Toby Jones is a small man. He's much older than Matt Smith. I wonder if they ever thought of putting in somebody who looked very similar to Matt Smith.
Oh, yeah.
So that he would look at this guy and go, why does this guy look like me? And it's only at the end that he says, I know now why he looked like me, because he is me.
Yeah. Well, I think they wanted to keep the sort of subtle hints of, like, he was kind of wearing the tweed jacket. He was wearing a bow tie in several scenes, especially early on. So it's like, I think it's supposed to be, that sort of thing. It's like, at first you think, well, this is just the Dream Lord mocking the Doctor. But then you start to realize, like, well, it goes a bit deeper than that, because if he is also the dark parts of the Doctor's mind, it would make sense that he sort of wears something similar. So,
again, very interesting and very subtle reminder of one of the really considered great sci-fi films of the 1950s, Forbidden Planet, which oddly enough was based on Shakespeare's The Tempest. But in that, the monster, as it turns out, is essentially the id, all the dark impulses of the scientists who live there. So that's again, if it was Nye, whatever his name was,
Simon Nye.
Simon Nye.
Yeah.
If he had that connection, that would be really cool that he was kind of tying that in.
Yeah. As well as just making this a good sort of, not a completion for like the Amy and Rory arc, like that's going to keep going through the rest of this season, but a good continuation, especially after the last couple episodes where it's like her kind of choosing the Doctor, and then the Doctor going and getting Rory for last episode to sort of rekindle that, and then just now sort of cementing their relationship.
Yeah.
So, which is good, because I know Moffat didn't like the ending of the Angel 2-parter where she tries coming on to the Doctor. He kind of regrets that now, but it does work out into this arc going through these episodes. So yeah, and then it's also interesting too, because it's like with making both realities a dream, it's interesting because it's like you would think, okay, Doctor Who, they're going to go into a dream this time, and it's like, well, you could just do whatever you want at that point, but I like that it's mostly grounded. It's just one of the dreams is their lives that they could potentially have in Upper Leadworth, and then the other is just them, another day on the TARDIS. They just find some impossible thing like a cold star, and it's just like, well, that's strange. And it's just like they're both very subtle, so it does sort of make you wonder. Obviously, we as the audience is like, okay, well, probably Upper Leadworth is probably the dream, because I don't think there's just a 5-year gap between episodes. So, Especially when they've been, teasing the wedding day for the entire season, and then just skip over that. So it's like, okay, well that one's probably the dream, and that's what they end up going with. But then to add on top of it that the one in the TARDIS is also a dream too is an interesting layer on top of it. So yeah, and the everything, like, also with both situations is interesting. The cold star, and it's like, well, how can a star burn cold? It's just like, well, that doesn't make sense. And it's just like, so this must be the dream. And the Doctor's like, well, the universe is big. There could be a cold star out there, and I don't know about it. Even at 907, I don't know everything. so there's that, and then you go back, and it's like, the entire town of Upper Leadworth is under attack by old people. And it's just, this easy thing, probably too, because it's like, okay, so what threat is going to appear in their quiet lives of Leadworth? It's like, I don't know, what does Leadworth have? Old people? And then someone was like, that's a good idea. What if the old people are really old, and they're trying to kill all the young people so that they can survive?
Now, do the eyeball monsters ever return? Do you know?
I don't think so. I think it's a one-time thing. Although the Doctor does reference, their actual name. So they are a species that actually exists. So they were just recreated for the dream. But yeah, and then having Amy choose, it also just works, having that be, Rory's death be the thing that convinces her, really works out. And after he cut off that ponytail and everything. And, I know I joked about the fact that I'm pretty close to being able to get a ponytail like that. It's like, I don't know if I would want my hair to look exactly like that, but I don't know. I'm not even sure that was a ponytail or more of a raccoon tail. Like, that, his hair looked like something Davy Crockett would wear back in the day. It was pretty bad, so.
I have to give you props for knowing what Davy Crockett would have looked like, because that was so far before your time.
Yeah. Well, because I used to have, I think I got rid of it actually just recently. I used to have like a sort of raccoon hat like that, so.
I wonder when we got that. It must have been when we went down to San Antonio to the Alamo.
Maybe. I mean, I've probably had that for like 20 years, so.
Well, like I said, the first time we went to the Alamo would have been sometime in the early 2000s.
So, never forget. Always remember. There's two things you always have to remember: the Alamo and 9/11. And we are at a point where, yes, you can joke about both of them. It's okay. So, there might be some people that get miffed about joking about either, but we are so far removed where you can do that. So, it's the same as Lincoln. Like, I'm sure like 20 years after Lincoln got killed, they started making jokes about Lincoln. So, anyway. Actually, the funniest thing is when I watch YouTubers that they either do a joke or they accidentally make a joke about 9/11. They're like, oh my god, my American audience, I'm so sorry. And all of their American audience is like, no, it's okay. We accept. Not only do we accept, we will laugh the hardest at your 9/11 jokes. So, anyhow.
Well, that took a weird turn.
It did. I don't know how Davy Crockett got us to 9/11 jokes, but here we are. So
remember the Alamo.
Yeah.
Yes, oddly enough, I had to teach about the Alamo in my Oklahoma history class because, and most people don't know this, the original Republic of Texas actually included part of what is now Oklahoma. The Adams-Onis Treaty, which I think it was 1819, had originally been accepted by both the United States and Spain at the time, and later Mexico simply went along with it after they became independent. But what is now the Oklahoma Panhandle actually used to be part of Texas. So one of the reasons why very few people settle in that area in the northern part of Texas is because, as you recall, that area is flat, it's dry and dusty until you get to the very western part. Then you get all the mesas. It's not really good agricultural country. You can't really grow a lot of good crops there. You can't really raise a lot of cattle. so, it's one of those things where after Texas became a state, they couldn't keep that part of what is now Oklahoma because the Missouri Compromise of 1820 said that there was a certain line above which slavery would be illegal, and the southern border of the Oklahoma Panhandle was that line. So it's a whole complicated thing. But yeah, I had to teach about Texas history because it was part of Oklahoma's history.
Oh, yeah. So I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that didn't realize that Oklahoma was right next to Texas. Especially for the Europeans watching this. I'm sure they really don't know. That's also a funny thing watching, because it's the same thing of watching an American play one of those, one of those map games of, find all the countries in Europe, and then watching a European try to find all the states in the U.S. It's like, it doesn't work either way. It's although some people are better than others, obviously, so, but I remember, I think we talked about this at one point when we went to Portland last year. We were down at the receptionist desk or whatever. We're buying some snacks because we had just come off that plane and I had died on that plane, so I was starving. And they asked, "Oh, where are you from?" And we said, "Well, we're from Oklahoma." And the girl there was like, "I should know where that is, but I don't know where that is." And so I said, "It's just north of Texas." I was like, "Oh, okay, I got that." So everyone knows where Texas is, I think, unless you don't. Leave it in the comments and don't Google it before you look up where Texas and Oklahoma are. So, we should do just like a one-off video sometime where we just have you play those map games, or like maybe we both play it. Maybe I should play first because then I'll just show that I'm not that good at half of them, and then you could do it. So,
I'm good at North and South America, Europe, and what is now called Western Asia. Once you get out of Western Asia, and especially into Africa, because in my lifetime, Africa, which used to have a huge colonial presence, not just the British, but also the French and the Germans and the Belgians of all people, so many new countries. And I just heard within the last 2 or 3 months that a tiny little country that was completely surrounded by what is now South Africa had changed its name. It used to be called Swaziland, and now it's called Eswatini. And so, and I mean, I had seen nothing in the newspapers about that and I do read not just the local newspaper, but I also read there's a USA Today, which is not the greatest newspaper. They used to call it the Mac paper, but it usually has at least little snippets of world news. And to find out that a country had changed its name and I had not heard about it at all was kind of baffling to me.
So. Yeah, there is technically, and it has to be technically, there is technically a micronation within Nevada. It's called Molossia. It's about like 1 acre of land, and the guy that owns it, like he says, like, due to a legal loophole, it is technically not part of the United States. I don't know how, but so you can look this up on Wikipedia, and you'll see the picture of the president is just the guy that owns the land, but he has like a nice like military jacket and stuff. But technically there is a micronation in the deserts of Nevada called Molossia, and the most notable thing actually about this micronation is that about 15 years ago, a YouTube movie critic got a bunch of his movie critic friends together, and they filmed a movie where they just like goofily take over Molossia and rename it Kickassia, and they got the actual guy, and he was happy enough to let them in, and they filmed that, and it is awful. It is one of the worst YouTuber movies ever made, but it's also kind of a fever dream. So if anyone out there knows about that, about when the nostalgia critic took over Molossia, it's an important time in internet history. But yeah, technically it does, and that's also like half of the Wikipedia page for Molossia is just talking about that movie when they took over, basically.
Now I do, and hopefully our European friends will enjoy this. When I was living in England, I went to the library, found a novel, which was later made into a movie starring Peter Sellers, called The Mouse that roared. And it's a fascinating idea where this tiny little European country is about to go bankrupt. And they realized that after World War II, a lot of these smaller nations that had been conquered by the Nazis or the Italians could then apply to, like the United States or Great Britain, to get foreign aid to come in. And so the idea is this tiny little nation decides to essentially, I think it's challenge the United States to a war, which they would immediately surrender to, and that they would be able to get foreign aid. But in order to provoke the war, they decided to kidnap an American scientist. But what they don't realize is this guy is literally one of the developers of the atomic bomb. And so when they kidnap him, the United States says, "Oh my Lord, this crazy little nation has an atomic bomb, we surrender." And so the United States surrenders to them, which of course leads to all sorts of wonderful complications. If you've never seen the movie or read the book, The Mouse That Roared, hysterically funny.
Yeah, so I'm sure that would be a book that Rory would read on the bench in Upper Leadworth. I mean, there's a part of me that understands Rory's dream of just, this is a nice, quiet little town. It does rain all the time. It's so funny watching the rain there, because it's like, it's so insignificant that you almost can't see it. None of them are reacting to it. They don't even look like they're getting wet.
Yeah.
But it's there, and you can see just every so often, like 2 or 3 of the raindrops just get caught in the wind because they're not that heavy, and it's just like, boy, that is a very specific type of rain.
I will attest to that because, again, having lived 3 years in France and 3 years in England, I don't ever recall what we here in Oklahoma call thunderstorms, where it's heavy rain and hail and high winds and things like that.
We had that the other night.
The rain in England is just like it's just a constant, gentle rain. And I'm sure since the 1960s there have been climate change, and there's a lot of difference now. But yes, I remember thinking it's just rain. There's not a lot of wind. There's very little thunder and lightning, and it's just like, and it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
For example, we lived essentially just on the western side of the Alps in France, right by the German border. And years later, when I was recalling living there, I thought, it rained almost every day, 9 months out of the year. Whether it rained for 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days, but it always seemed to be raining there until wintertime when it snowed. And sometimes it would snow a little, and sometimes it would snow a lot. But I seem to remember just the constant rain for 9 months and constant snow for 3 months.
Well, yeah. It is also one of those things, like when I watch some anime or just videos about Japan, and it's like, there'll be a thing where it's like, oh, well, there's essentially a typhoon coming in, and it is a big deal, and obviously those can be a bit dangerous, but they'll show like a scene just in a house or an apartment as the typhoon is raging on. There's a part of me that just kind of sits there and think, well, it can't be that bad. I mean, there's no tornadoes involved. And it's just like, obviously those are pretty powerful, and especially if you're not ready, you don't want to go out in that. So it's like you have to stay indoors. But there's the part of me that's just like, yeah, but if there's no tornado, it's just a bit of rain, honestly, and thunder and lightning and winds and stuff.
The major difference, yes, tornadoes are very short-lived. Now there have been some. For example, there was one probably about 100 years ago that is called the Tri-State Tornado. I think it started in southern Illinois and then went through Indiana and up into Ohio. It may have gone across into Kentucky, but I mean it's lasted for hours and hours and hours. But tornadoes are by nature a very short-lived phenomenon.
Yeah.
On the other hand, hurricanes can last for weeks at a time.
Well.
Now, they don't have the entire intensity that entire time. Start out as a tropical wave, then they go to a tropical depression, then a tropical storm, then to anywhere from Category 1 to Category 5, and then they dissipate again until they just become nothing. But yeah, tornadoes are very brief. The EF0, you probably, unless you were directly hit by it, could stand up in that, because wind speeds are usually anywhere from 60 to 80 miles an hour. But yes, category an EF5 tornado, like the two that hit Moore in the last 20 years. Moore's a town just south of here. One of them had wind speeds recorded over 300 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And for just that brief amount of time, literally just wiped out everything in its path, including a couple of elementary schools.
Yeah, and there is the difference between a thunderstorm and a hurricane as well.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying it's like, even when I see stuff like that, it's just like, it's in the back of my head, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, yeah, obviously a typhoon is going to be pretty dangerous too, but there is just that part of me that's just like, yeah, but if you're not being woken up at 6 a.m. because there's a tornado siren going off.
Yeah.
Which, that happened one time, I think we talked about it on here, which, when I say that out loud, makes me sound so lazy that it's like, oh, I had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning because of a tornado, and it's just like, it is a common joke among YouTubers that we get up at noon, and it's not, I mean, for me, it's inaccurate. Not a ton inaccurate. And if I had my way, I probably would sleep in to 9 or 9:30-ish, which that's mostly just because I fall asleep at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So, anywho.
Oh, and just two quick things there. Hurricanes don't happen by surprise.
Well, yeah.
You have, again, usually at least a week to know that it's coming. Whereas a tornado here in Oklahoma, with the most sophisticated weather instruments anywhere on the planet, if you get 15 to 30 minutes warning, you're lucky.
Yeah. Now, the storm you'll know is coming.
Yes.
You will be aware. The tornado itself, yeah, that can surprise you. But you're at least aware that day that something could happen. But
And the other thing, while they were in the TARDIS while it was icing over, that's actually only happened to me once. I may have told you that story too. I was living in Omaha, Nebraska. Would have been the winter of 68 going into 60. No, would have been 66 going into 67. I wasn't 16 yet, so I wasn't driving. Went out to catch the bus one morning to go to school. The wind chill temperature is what the wind feels like on your face, was 60 degrees below zero. And my eyes tend to water in the winter when I get wind in them. And as the tears were coming down out of my eyes, they were freezing on my face. And so when I blinked, I was literally cracking the ice around my eyes, and I said, no, I'm not going to do this. Went back in, called the school and said, I can't come to school today because my face is frozen. And they said, okay, yeah, we understand. So.
Yeah. And by the way, when he says 60 degrees below zero, that's our zero of Fahrenheit. Yeah. For all of you, zero is the freezing point of water. For us, that's 32 degrees. So that's an extra 30 degrees below. That's about 90 degrees below freezing, essentially, is what he's going on. So, yeah, we kind of had that one time, I remember. Well, we didn't go out in that kind of cold, but I remember that one winter when I guess it just snowed really badly and it cut the power for like a day or so.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and it was really the only time I think they got the power stuff together after that. We're like, we're not doing that again. So, and generally most of the time, well, granted, I don't know if it's really snowed as hard as it did that day since then, but since then we never really have that kind of power outage. And most of the time nowadays, if the power goes out, it's because of a storm, not because of snow. So
yeah. Our neighborhood and most of our city here, Edmond, Oklahoma, they've learned the lessons and started putting all new construction power lines underground, so that way the snow does not accumulate on the power lines and cause them to snap. But Oklahoma City and some of the other surrounding municipalities here still have those above ground lines, and yes, they get power outages for days at a time, where they literally no electricity at all in the house.
And if there's any sort of a storm in Texas, you will hear about it because their power goes out so quickly.
Yeah.
And if there's any rain in Los Angeles, you hear about it because they're freaking out all the time. So, but I made that joke last episode too.
They say it never rains in Southern California.
Well, yeah.
There's a song about that.
Well, yeah. So.
All right. So, enough tangents.
I really don't know how much we talked about this episode. So,
anyway. We just talked about 15 or 20 minutes about nothing.
Yeah.
Which is our brand, I guess.
But Honestly, the big thing with this episode, because sometimes I do forget, like, I'll write something down and then I forget to talk about it in the discussion, but the biggest thing on this one was just to bring up the connection between the Dream Lord and the Valeyard, mainly just because I wanted to be proud of the fact that we knew who the Valeyard was. Not many people who watched this episode know who the Valeyard is, so now including me the first time I watched it anyway, so... Anywho, now we gotta go watch Torchwood. So, with all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Next week is a 2-parter, by the way. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our modern Doctor Who reactions, as well as another playlist with every Doctor Who reaction that's on the channel. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.